Hi guys, welcome back to the Bull Talk with Big Jim podcast.
Guess what, motherfucker?
Some of the information you are about to hear, some may find disturbing.
I don't know who gave them this or who gave them the clearance.
On the crotch.
Oh my lord.
Right there. Can we Google that?
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then I fucking stumbled down a dark hole and I love it.
Great cake parties. You know, if I'm going to believe anybody's bullshit, I'm going to believe mine.
It sounds not politically correct, but
You two motherfuckers need Jesus.
What is up, boners? Welcome back to the Bo Talks with Big Jim podcast.
Boners, I like it.
It's a great name. It really is. What if we did because it was degenerates, right?
Boners, degenerates. One of them was heathens.
Yeah, there's a lot.
lot.
Boners was definitely the best out of all of them, I think.
But you got to explain to these people so they don't get it.
Well, we did a poll.
Might like to be called a boner. I don't know.
We did a poll about what our listeners wanted to be called, and the reason why we said boners, well, obviously, clearly we're both male.
Oh.
and my nickname is Bo.
Bo.
And
it goes in reference with Botox.
Yeah.
So the people who are channeling or listening and watching, they are the boners, the nerds, kind of like nerd, NERDS, but the nerds just kind of took it.
Yeah. And that's
Different
what everyone
reference,
chose on Instagram. But today we had on Chris Murphy, a guy that I personally met at my job. Cool fucking dude.
Very cool.
I can't say anything wrong or miss. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing about the guy that you can hate. The guy was a cool fucking dude. And I just found out he's almost 40 years old. I didn't even fucking know that.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I'm not gonna lie, I was really surprised. But no, great guy. I liked I wasn't expecting that type of a format or a podcast. I mean, he's very in tune of what he wants. And I think that'll be a beginning of, his success. And he also has other challenges.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but he's handling them. He's living life and raising his family. So good guy.
Great guy.
Hopefully somebody out there will be able to help him. And
I think so. And
other
help him
opportunities.
not like with, home or anything.
No, nothing like that. He's very,
of what he's going to tell us or tell all the listeners and or watchers. But
right.
Man, again, I can't say anything about the guy that's negative. The dude is fucking cool.
It's difficult to find.
It's very difficult to find, especially nowadays. And
well, you have to be grounded to be able to deal with his situation. I mean, he has a challenge. His family has had to take on a huge responsibility, and as a dad, you have to set aside. As a young individual, we're all selfish and greedy, and we want the best for everything. And when you get thrown a curveball, you will adapt. And as a young man like he is, he's definitely adapt. His son is 11 and he's still progressing, and he's going to hit all his milestones.
he will.
And I wish nothing but the best for him and Connor.
Agreed.
And his wife. Hats off.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's a fire plug.
She's fucking, she's everything wrapped into one.
Yeah,
She's a teacher, a mom, a therapist, all this other shit. And
she is she's definitely I'll give her the credit. She's the leading force of that family.
she's a superhero. I said it in the episode. She's a superhero.
Yep. So shout out to you, Mrs. Murphy. And like I said, everybody, hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here he is, Chris Murphy.
Wait a minute. Wait, did you hold up a beer?
Me?
No, it's the Murphy Special.
Oh.
This is a bourbon ginger ale.
Ah, yes.
You keep going. I'm going to go get me a beer. Keep going. I'll be right back.
I told you we were going to be drinking today.
I didn't know that. I'm over here trying to be politically correct with water and more water in a coffee mug. Wait a
Jesus, dude.
minute. Jesus. Hang on.
Well, the gentleman that just showed us his ginger ale, that is Chris Murphy. Chris, I met him, I think about 2 years ago now, probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, about two years ago, we started working together, and we kind of just did a quick introduction before we hit record with my pops, and automatically, you guys, it's already going to be a great fucking episode. I'm fucking excited, dude.
Yeah, same.
Um,
This
yeah,
is
but
my first podcast to be on, so you're probably
ever.
that one.
It's your first one ever? Oh
All right.
shit.
Here we go.
All right, he's back. All right, what's up, Big Jim? What are you drinking
What's
now?
happening? This is called California Honey. It's a
Where are you finding these beers at?
dude. I told you the outlet store.
Oh, yeah.
And what's amazing is like some of this beer is phenomenal. The one I made that little, it's called
Num Num Juice.
Num Num Juice. Yeah, that shit's night juice. It's an IPA, but this one here is a blonde ale, and it's made with honey. And the only thing there's not enough honey for me. I expected a much bolder taste of honey.
You wanted it to be more sweet?
Yeah, but it does what it does.
It does what it do. So, there is no story today. This is more of a hangout drinking thing, and Chris.
I'm glad I brought two.
Yeah. When I first met you, I mean, we're gonna get into what I really want to talk about.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get there. But when I first met you, you told me, and if you don't mind me saying this, but your son, you told me your son was autistic.
Yes, he is autistic. Yeah.
So because I've been seeing a lot of stuff specifically on TikTok about people and autism, and it's actually really cool. Like there's a huge community of support and everything like that. But what is it like growing up with or raising a child with autism, and like, can you just explain for those who like myself don't have an autistic child?
Yeah, I mean, it's I can only speak more on behalf of what it's like with my son. Autism, unfortunately, it is different for every family that's going through it or any individual that has it. I can say that when Connor was around 1.5, 2 years old, there was definitely no signs of autism. He was in the beginning stages of speaking. He was already talking, saying dad and mom and all those things going on, but his physicality was unbelievable. I thought I was, raising a linebacker eventually. At 1.5, 2 years old, he climbed our backyard fence without us knowing. And
what?
Yeah. And she was probably around 2. So my wife was pregnant with my daughter, and I was in the backyard playing with him, and I said, hey, let me go check on mom. I'll be right back. Next thing you know, I'm in here like within 2 minutes, and I hear him screaming my name. So I run the backyard. I'm yelling for him. I can't find him. I think, worst case scenario, somebody came in the backyard and took him. And then I ended up running towards my alleyway, and I'm screaming his name, and I hear him just on the other side of the fence. Now my fence I'm only 5'8", and so my fence is over 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
And the drop down was still another 2 feet. So that's why, he couldn't, there's no way he could climb over. I thought on my side. So there's no way he could climb over on the other side. And so I just remember checking all the slats of the wood, and none of them were loose. So somehow he climbed up and went over. But it was around 3 years old. At 2 years old, yeah.
Jesus.
And then at 3 years old is when I think my mom and my wife, nice boot, by the way.
Thank you.
They were noticing that there was something different about Connor. Granted, when I think as any parent, when you don't want to believe that there's something different, you want to believe everything's fine. And so I think it was my stubbornness at first that was more resistant to getting tested. But eventually, it's a long process. You go through Stanford, you do these evaluations. He first got approved for speech therapy, and then it was probably soon after that he was actually diagnosed with autism. So you got to think about 3 years old. What it was like is he went from starting the processes of talking and being able to like almost hold a conversation to nothing at all.
Really?
Yeah, he went. He used to be able to say milk, and then it turned into just grunts and noises. And so I don't know. I couldn't tell you all the actual legal or
Yeah, yeah.
actual jargon, but it just seemed like a switch went off in his head to where everything started to regress. So it was the hard part about everything was, and anybody who's listening to this and maybe going through this, the fastest way for you to get your child any kind of treatment would be going through the school district. Get your kids in the system as fast as you can, because the school district is going to do whatever they can to get you some more assistance. So when we went to the Millbrae School District where we live, it was within probably 2 or 3 months we were already getting speech therapy. When we went through Kaiser, and then Kaiser outsourced it to Easter Seals, and then Easter Seals couldn't get us the help, and then we had, mind you do evaluations to all these people. And so we went from Kaiser doing the evaluation. It took a couple months to get approval. They outsource it. We do an evaluation with Easter Seals. They do their evaluation. We have to wait for them to get approval. We got approval for both of these. And then Easter Seal said, well, we don't have the therapist to provide you the help, so we're going to outsource you to another company. So you're looking at going on probably already close to 9 months to a year through the insurance, just trying to get help. And we're not getting it yet.
And you got to repeat this beginning process
over and over and over. And so the school district was quick. We got the speech therapy right away. We were seeing progression. We were seeing a lot of effort on his end. But in the beginning stages, more of these therapies are teaching you on how to adjust and deal with this disability. Everything's fine with my son, like the way we say it, is just he learns differently.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of times it's a lot of repetitiveness. It's going to be a million times of a repetitiveness of the same conversation, the same story he wants to tell you, and the things that he would focus on in the beginning. They say that some of the signs are kids, they'll be like looking at wheels and they'll be really focused on the spinning thing, like they're really trying to figure that out. But yeah, I mean, over the years, he's gone from having speech therapy to behavioral therapy to occupational therapy. Now he's in also food therapy.
What is that?
So basically with him, it's like he has everything sensory issues, right? So something too loud, something too bright, something that he's touching could be too soft or too hard, too rough. All these things are going on. So you got to think about that. If you're just doing that with your hands and your body, you gotta be doing that with your mouth. So food for him could be too rich, too sweet, too sour. There's millions of things you could think of.
Right.
But for him, he will only eat popcorn chicken. I mean, trust me, his diet is the best diet in the world. Popcorn chicken, pizza, cheeseburgers, chicken nuggets, chips. So he has a lot of, I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
He sounds like my best friend.
Yeah. So getting him to try other food though is the biggest issue, so we're trying to introduce new pastas to him besides only having spaghetti, having something that would be like an elbow pasta or, something that even just like lasagna, it's a flat pasta, but for them, something that we would be eating that would be like, oh, we wouldn't notice a difference. For him, he'll regurgitate it, and stuff.
Really?
And so, yeah. It's different.
It's something like what's it called? Texture. Is texture like something big too?
Oh yeah. I mean, anything. Let's put it this way: the popcorn chicken we bought when the COVID first started, Foster Farms is like selling out of all their food like right away because everybody's stockpiling everything.
Right.
And he ended up getting so worked up that to the point where the popcorn chicken's texture changed, the bag changed, and then I think this certain time when they made it, they put too much pepper in it, and so it felt spicy. So we bought, and they finally had some. We bought like 8 bags worth of this stuff because that was like the one thing he would eat.
Right.
He had the first serving of it, and he wouldn't eat it.
No way.
Because it was that different. For us, you could eat it. You could dip it in ketchup. You could dip it in something. You're fine. But for him, that's small. It didn't matter what you did. It was different. He didn't want to eat it. And so now we were stuck. Not only do we have 8 bags worth of popcorn chicken that I wouldn't mind eating, but eventually even myself, I get tired of having it. But now you're stuck. It's like, what are you going to feed them?
Right.
I got to the point where it was in beginning of April when things were like, the shelves are still kind of bare,
Yeah, yeah.
getting into a conversation with this guy at Lucky's because I saw that it had a new pallet of Foster Farms and we were running low at that time. And I'm asking this guy, can you break it down? I'll help you break it down because I need to get some food for my son. And unfortunately that gentleman was not willing to help out more than he should have. But
Really?
eventually,
Well, I
even
guess
though,
like, sorry, go ahead.
I was like, even though I told him, the situation, what's going on, I want to say it fell on deaf ears. It just, he had his other priorities.
And I think
That
that's
ain't
like the
customer
type of
service at all.
No,
Jesus. And again, because I this is stuff that I've heard, whether it's on, and forgive me for my ignorance, but like TV, movies, other media outlets like that. But like when they say they're on the spectrum, like what does that even mean? I don't even know
so
what the hell
we're
that means.
all, if you really looked at what the spectrum was, we're all on the spectrum.
I'm peaked right there, buddy.
You could have people who are what's it called, just super sensitive to light, and that's something that would be on the spectrum.
Really?
Who have eating disorders could be considered on the spectrum. So basically, if you go back in time or back in history, like in the early 1940s, 50s, the popular diagnosis around that time for this disability would be like Asperger's syndrome.
Okay.
And so people more are aware of that phrase than they are, autism. Autism basically was part of that spectrum, but now for modern day, everything's in one. So you could be, somebody in your 40s or 50s being told that you had Asperger's, but technically you're autistic. At least that's from my understanding. Me, my wife, my brother actually got us tickets to go up to the seminar. It was years ago up in San Francisco. This guy wrote a book regarding the history of autism. And it was actually heartbreaking to hear what they used to tell people back in the day when their kids were diagnosed with it, because basically they were, the insane asylums were open at that time.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
so,
like what's it called, Pinhurst
yeah,
Asylum over. I think it's in Jersey.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that was, I've seen some stuff on YouTube about that. Place was
bro.
a nightmare.
Yeah,
But
sorry.
let me know. So what they ended up doing is they would tell families to, you're going to admit your kid into this, and it's a lifelong disability. So what you need to do is you need to slowly forget about your child, slowly remove pictures from your house, and forget they ever exist.
What?
Now, oh yeah. And so me and my wife were looking at each other kind of like, there's no way we could do that to Connor. I mean, how can you do that? The problem was there was a social stigma to this disability, to where they would actually have, I think it was called cold parent syndrome. So where society would look at these kids who are, misbehaving in the society's, view, and they would think that it's the parents' fault because the parents weren't giving the child enough attention, and so the child's acting out. And so, forgive me for the time frame, but basically it was people's social reputation, or just being able to go and socialize with other families. You would be labeled as these cold parents, so you would be ostracized from the group. You would have nobody to fall back on.
Jeez.
And so you were kind of left with two options. There wasn't a lot of studies back then for kids with autism and how to kind of deal with it. So their solution was put them in an asylum, and then you could have somewhat of a normal life.
Somewhat, but then you put them in an asylum with, again, back in those days, it wasn't just for with a mental disability. It was fucking criminally and insane, legitimate insane people, and then you're putting them, probably children, like you just said, children, in with these grown men and women who are doing God knows what.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong, the disability, it was definitely heartbreaking when we found out, you don't want your child to have, this world's already hard enough, to find some sort of place to where you fit in. And to put on top of it, you have a social stigma that especially kids growing up in elementary school, when you're a little bit different, you're kind of like not fitting in. Kids don't really have that understanding yet to just be more accepting. And we've been lucky that the school that Connor has gone to, he has a lot of therapists, he has a lot of aides, and he is well liked by the other students. I mean, there's some students that, you're not going to have everybody like you.
Right.
But when it comes to just the social acceptance for a lot of things that he goes through, and sometimes like as a person that from the outside you're seeing it, it's hard to like kind of bite your tongue because you realize that most people don't know what's going on. It's just that outside perception. And Connor, he's a funny kid. And if you met him when he was 3 years old, you saw that he couldn't talk, to see how he is now. I mean, sometimes I wish he would just go back one day. Just make some grunts because you're driving me up the wall. I mean, all weekend he's asked me for McDonald's, and I'm like, it's not like I haven't fed you McDonald's. You had it on Friday.
Yeah,
I know. But can I get it? Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, when the therapies have helped tremendously. Behavioral therapy, when it first came in, that was the one that was kind of like, how do we address some of his behaviors? And you have to learn to distinguish, is this a meltdown? Is this something about his autism? Or is this a 4, 5, or 6-year-old boy who's being a little shit? You got to figure out the two.
That's and yeah, and I was gonna say, how can you even?
You got to look at the situation. So hypothetically, if I took away his switch and he started having a tantrum, then you kind of know, oh, you're just upset because of this. But then you have to look at other situations. So say you're in the house before we realize that, loud music was an issue for him and stuff. And, at first it may not affect him right away, but then you could have it to where if the loud music's going off and off and off, and, just a lot of commotions going on, you could tell the difference when he's having a meltdown or he's screaming, crying, you don't know what's going on. You're like, okay, that's probably something with his autism. And you just try to remedy the situation.
Jeez.
Yeah, but he's 9 now. He's going to be going 10 in March. I wouldn't say he has a lot of meltdowns like he was when he was 4 or 5 and stuff. And the funny part was that he hated school. He's not a fan of school, but it's also because they make him do a lot of work. But when COVID hit, this is actually a little funny story. The teachers asked him, Connor, you're turning 9 this year, so you get 9 birthday wishes. What would you like? And so he only said he only got to 4. And so obviously the first one was McDonald's. Okay. It's not a shocker to anyone. Second and third one, I think it was solely based on video games for his Nintendo Switch or a new controller. His fourth wish, he said, I want school to be closed and I want to learn at home. His birthday is March 11th and school closed.
Shut up.
Closed March 13th. And so we all laughed when the teachers called and told us this. And so I go to him and I go, hey, did you wish for school to be closed on your birthday? And he's like, and you wanted to learn at home? He's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, well, you got your wish. And you see him like look, and he's all in amazement. I went, you couldn't ask for your dad to get a Ford F-150? And then he goes, oh, next year, Dad. Next year, I'll ask that. I'm like, all right. He was listening.
He'll be wish number 5 next year.
So it's just, and then we don't know right now. The last meeting we had with the school, it is karma, I think, for him, because the time frame they're saying that they're going to have when they could possibly go back to school is on his birthday, March 11th.
Oh, no way.
I was in hysterics when I heard that. I'm like, I'm not sure if he'd be happy or pissed off.
Wow. Does he interact with certain classmates? I mean, that to where are they understanding his condition now?
So I mean, most of school, the kids have been in the same class with him since kindergarten, so they know that the teachers have really drilled it into them that Connor just learns differently and stuff. So there's a lot of kids that are accepting, but there's also kids. I know how my son can be. He's very strong-willed, and when he wants his way, he's going to try to push and get his way. So kids at a young age, if they're telling him no, this has nothing to do with him having autism and stuff like that. Well, for him, it is his autism. He has to learn that they can't read a lot of times facial expressions or sarcasm. They don't understand that at that young age. Or even, I mean, for some people who autism, when they're adults, they can't read it either. Yeah. And so the kids are accepting, but there are some kids that are, he'll get upset with because he doesn't understand why they don't like him and why they could be mean to him and things along those lines. We just try to explain to him. I go, you're not going to have, not everybody's going to be your buddy. And so we try to just teach him, instead of being upset about it, you need to learn from what mistake you made. And so if you are asking to play with them and they say yes, then you're playing with them. You don't change what they're playing to suit what you want to do.
Right.
Or you play with them for like a little bit and then see if they want to go do it. But I think it's a coin flip. Is it his autism, or is it him just learning how to socialize just with peers in general? And this year it's kind of hard. He hasn't been around kids, and he hasn't, he might have a setback when he finally gets around kids his age. The funny part was he gets along with kids that are older. Like his group of friends he had when he was in school were 3 grades older than him.
Whoa,
Really?
He was playing with the older kids, but then when he got kids around his own age is where he would have more of the issues. So I don't know if it was because the older kids are more accepting, they understood, or if they
That's
even
a
knew it up.
possibility.
Yeah, but I look at it as, at a young age, as long as you're laughing and having fun, you're on the right track.
I was gonna ask too, and again, I know it's probably a very naive question.
No, go ahead.
But obviously, you probably have a few years older than I am. I'm 29.
I'm 37.
Are you
Well,
really?
Damn, I
Holy
wouldn't have
shit.
took you for being over 31.
I swear to God, I did not know that.
I won't show the rest of my body. This is doing really well.
All right, the rest of the body. Trust me, the rest of my body looks 51.
There you go.
Holy shit. I really didn't know that. Okay. Well,
That's my maturity level, unfortunately. I'm still around 25 there.
So I'm sure you had it back when you were in grade school and high school, because I know that I had it. Is special ed still a thing?
Yeah. For Connor, he has, for his autism, that's why I tell, if anybody's listening to this and they're going through it, you get in with the district as soon as you can, so that when they get into school, you see the kids' progression. There's a chance that they may be in just a special ed class, where it's a smaller number and there's a teacher there. It's more strictly for learning with that child. Connor is high functioning. So for him, especially at the early stages, it was trying to figure out what levels he on to learn certain topics. So he has an aide with him 24/7. And so he has somebody there to help him out if he's not getting it. When he was in, I think, his 2nd grade, he was definitely struggling with work. He was not, and the sad part is not like the class stops to make sure that he's on the same level.
Yeah.
And so he got about halfway through the 2nd year when we had our annual IEP meeting, which, don't tell me what IEP stands for.
Individual Educational Program. My
boom.
son has.
Big Jim, thank you, buddy.
You got it.
Shit, I didn't even know that.
But we have those meetings and we discuss about what his progression is, and then the aides, the teacher, the therapists, they're all there, and we all kind of came to the decision that he's behind. So the teacher came up with, why don't we give him, from the level that we can see that he's at, we're going to give him the second half of the 1st grade year, and that's the work he's going to work on, because now it's not about him getting the work correct. It's more about building his confidence to get the work correct.
Right.
And so he was getting the year prior work, but he was getting it done, and you were seeing this progression happen with him. It's been a blessing in disguise for COVID, because my wife is the hero when it comes to this stuff, and she's taken on not only being not stay-at-home mom, she's at home because she's now the teacher, she's a therapist, and she's a working mom. So she's doing all this stuff at the house while I'm at work, and
she's a superhero
for sure.
That's what she is.
Don't tell her that though. I'm not sure she's gonna watch this.
We'll put that on dub.
But I've seen a huge progression this year because, well, when it comes to, Jimmy and Jim, your parents, that, we could kind of push the limit a little bit more when it comes to the kids. The school, on the other hand, when my son's having a meltdown, he needs a break or whatever he needs, they're going to give it to him because they don't want the meltdown.
Right.
So we were noticing throughout the years, and I kept telling these guys, the teachers and stuff, don't be afraid to tell him no.
Right.
Don't be afraid. And I feel like if you're going to be afraid to tell him no, then he's going to catch on to that. And I feel like he did over the years. I mean, he knew that if I didn't want to do this work, hey, I need a break. And then he would walk around the school with the aid.
Yeah.
Once my daughter got in kindergarten, he would be like, "Oh, I need to go check on Caitlin and make sure she's okay." And
He's just thugging around.
And I'm like, "No, tell him to get his ass in his seat and do work."
Yeah.
Hey, Miss Thompson, I'll be right back. I need to go check on my sister.
Yeah, see my sister. Make
You
sure
good?
this.
All right.
So this year it's been more plant your ass in the seat, get the work done. And he's gone from, having difficulties with math. Now he's doing division. He went from not being able to really read to where he's sitting there reading a book to me.
Nice.
And, I mean, I'm not taking away anything from the teachers, but I do know that it's the iron fist wife I have that is, no, get the stuff done, because she's also working with my daughter's class too. So she can't be like coddling him, oh, okay, you're having a hard time. And we finally kind of got to that point, the age he's at. Like, you know what? Life's hard. And unfortunately, it's going to be harder for you.
And I think honestly, with COVID going on right now, and it's just kind of weird, not weird, but I guess it's the quote new normal now. But with everyone being home, like I don't think everyone realized how difficult being home is.
Yeah,
because it's fucking hard.
I mean, we're lucky that we get to go to work.
Exactly. I mean, we have that essential work pass, but for people who like my wife, I mean, right now she's not working, she's going to school, but there's people that I mean, sure, that we all know that are stuck at home right now, and they're they've been losing their mind for the last 9 months.
Oh yeah. And it could go on longer, know. Right now with Stanford, they're talking about the vaccination, and you got people, I go around on my route and I talk to them. I said, you think you're going to take the vaccine or not? And people, majority say, oh yeah, I want to, but I'm going to wait a little bit. But it's like, at the same time, it's like the vaccine ain't going to change. It's not like they're going to say, okay, we're going to stop putting this out there in the public and try to fix it.
Yeah, it's not the fucking PlayStation 5. You're going to buy it and, oh, hey, here's a new update, guys.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things to where it's like, I have a feeling that I told my wife I'll take it, because I'd rather be the guinea pig before my kids and everybody get it.
Likewise.
And that's another thing with autism too. A lot of people believe that autism is sometimes linked to the vaccinations you get at that age, between 2, 3, and 4 years old. I'm kind of on the fence of that. Connor did get, if I recall, like it was like 5 or 6 shots on his third year checkup. And so it's kind of hard to say I'm against that, and I don't believe that the vaccinations caused anything, because there was such a huge change in Connor in that small window. I do know the vaccinations, help tremendously for other issues. But I'm no scientist, and I couldn't tell you yay or nay if that's how it is. I just know that this is what I'm dealing with now, and I don't look at it as anything negative. I'm definitely more blessed, because Connor's taught me another level of patience that I didn't think I ever had. I have patience for him. I don't necessarily have the patience for society. That's for sure. I mean, I've been in plenty of places where my wife's telling me to knock it off, because we'll be back in when we could go to movies in the theaters. There's only a handful of theaters that would do sensory friendly, to where the lights aren't completely off and the noise isn't 100%, so it's not so loud for them.
Yeah.
But when we took the chances, we want to go see a kids movie, we would go in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, so there's not a lot of
no one. Yeah.
And I would see adults in these kids movies giving me like dirty looks and making comments and saying stuff like that, and I would just go, hey, he's got autism, so this is it's just as hard for us as it is for you. And that was the nice part of me. And then eventually, when I keep getting dirty looks and stuff like that, I'm either giving my dirty look back, or I'm about to say something where my wife says, okay, we're just gonna leave, and I go, okay. That's probably
Jesus. So on that note, with adults, and I'm only bringing, this is not really a relation to how people react to, let's say, a person with autism, but I recently stumbled across something, and I told you this a while ago when I first asked you to come on here. How often, or have you ever met anyone? This is going to be a very touchy subject or question, excuse me. Have you met anybody that has faked autism, has faked Asperger's?
No, I haven't come across that.
Have you heard
I
anything
actually,
like that?
I know you brought that up to me a while back, and I honestly haven't heard of any of it. I think when we talked about it, I did say something along the lines that it was on the other side of it, was that autism has become the popular disability.
Yeah.
And I feel like all these organizations and all these things are popping up because there's now more money involved in it. And so we went to those autism walks like two times a year. They always have one like in the winter, fall, winter time, and one spring, summertime. We were lucky enough this time around, before I started where I met you. We went to the autism walk up in San Francisco, and my wife went up to one of these booths, and we kind of knew with the schedule change that she's actually going to have to resign from her job, because before, we were single parents. That's how we felt, because one worked nights and one worked mornings.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up going to one of these booths. I forget what the organization was, but they basically said that you get state assistance for taking care of a child with a disability. And at that time, Connor was eloping, which we know what eloping stands for. And so we found out that through this organization, we get state assistance because my wife is going to be like the primary person to take care of him. And the organization, this is where I felt like was more of a fraud, because after we looked up all the paperwork and what the process was, they ended up telling us that the fee to get their services was going to be around $15,000.
$15,000?
But this is how they reassure you that it won't come out of your pocket. The day they file the paperwork through the state, it takes 3 months, probably longer sometimes, to get your first paycheck. You're right. But the day that you file it is the first day, if you get approved, is the day you start getting paid. So they'll give you the back pay.
Right.
Right. Well, when we did the calculation, when we got paid, if we went through their services, we would still owe them probably around $5,000.
Holy shit.
So after getting the money, I would be giving them the first paycheck, and then I would still have to make monthly payments to them. So I turned to my wife going, "You look this thing over. Are you capable of filling out the paperwork?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's very simple." She goes, "But after talking to them, they put the fear in you that you have to go through them, because if you get denied, you won't, if you make a mistake, you won't get it." But most of these places, I mean, when dealing with the state, it's never fun. You can't get anybody on the phone. So, you just got to make sure that before you submit any of the paperwork, you just, like anything, you proofread it. You make sure it's all legit and make sure it's all correct.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's where my concern is. I wouldn't say where I've actually met anybody who's had the disability to where they're faking it, but I feel like a lot of these organizations know that the money's there.
Well, it's not even organizations. It's like people individually. And I bring that up because this gentleman, who again, and I've mentioned this on the last episode, TikTok is a ridiculous website. It's a ridiculous social media app, but you find a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And this guy was one of them. And this is, it says 2 days ago, but this was more like a month or two back. This gentleman, Miles JJ, he actually pretended to be autistic. And he was working at Five Guys. His little profile picture here, I don't know if you could see it, but
yeah,
he's wearing a Five Guys outfit. And he would, I'm not going to impersonate the way that he was speaking, but he was speaking a particular way and asking people, "Oh yeah, my shoes are messed up," and this, that. I mean, look, this one video has over 13,500 likes.
Wow.
So
it's been proven that he's faking it,
just to find out that this guy, this video in particular, he went on and he's like, "Hey guys, this is really," and his voice is completely changed. It's normal, like you and I. and he's like, "Hey guys, it's me. This is Miles, and sorry, but I don't have autism. I know now. I'm sorry." And this he tried to make some um uh,
Yes.
apology. No, he took people's money and ran with it. That's a new home that he's living in.
Wow.
He's
I mean,
he got a home. He got a brand new. He got one of those electric bikes. Those are like $1,300 bikes,
yeah.
and just a bunch of different. And people sent him a grip of money just to find out that this guy was a fraud. So this is his right. Look, he even gained almost 4,000 followers. He got over 6.4 million. By the way, that 0.4 is 400,000
Yeah.
likes on TikTok. And this guy was getting super, super popular. And then these 3 videos here are 6, excuse me, at the top are of him explaining that he's not autistic. He doesn't have a disability, and that he basically used everybody. He's trying to make an apology for coming up on thousands of dollars from being fake.
That's insane.
It's nuts.
I mean, how's that not? Well, I mean, granted, he's probably going to get away with it because you can't force people to send you money and things like that. And yes, he lied, but the way things are nowadays, you make an apology video and it seems like you get away with it.
Yeah, but see, the unfortunate thing is, like, say for yourself, obviously you're still productive and taking care of your family, but
Yeah.
you know, because of that type of a scenario, you know, you may have to revert to something similar. Hey, look, this is my situation, and then people are automatically going to think about Five Guys or whatever his name is.
Oh, for sure.
You
I
know,
mean,
and it sucks, and
That's
there's got to be some the new age panhandle. There's got to be some sort of repercussion. I don't know if obviously the law's not caught up to virtual reality or the virtual world, but stuff like that, dudes like that just need to be prosecuted.
Oh, for sure. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Just let somebody beat the
Because
hell out of them.
and I even started following the guy to the point where even I was like, yo, I'm gonna like all this dude's videos. This dude would walk all the way to Five Guys. He would say, obviously now I don't know if it's fucking truth, but he would say that he was walking 5 miles from his home to Five Guys, and then he got a pedal bike, and then he was sitting. Dude, he would even make videos in Five Guys with his colleagues.
Wow.
So I obviously I can't confirm it, but I don't know if they were in on his scam or if they legit thought this dude had autism.
Well, he definitely used the system. I mean, it's part of the credo. You can't discriminate. And he has multiple reasons to not discriminate. And mental capacity is one of them. So hell yeah, he took advantage of it.
Jesus.
He could say that I probably self-diagnosed myself. I looked up the symptoms and I share some of these symptoms.
People do that?
People could easily hear him say that I self-diagnosed myself having autism. I never professionally had it. A diagnosis.
Yeah. Right.
Jeez.
And that's truly the dude's a narcissist. I mean, he's gonna get his day.
Yeah.
He's gonna get his day. And it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, and it's fucked up because there's people who, like your other son, me, your other child who has fucking ADHD. Like these are legitimate things that we've been having.
Diagnosed with that as well.
Yeah.
He got diagnosed with that a year ago.
No way.
Yeah, and those go hand in hand. So that's ADHD and autism. They share a lot of the same characteristics.
Shut
up.
Like
what you were saying as far as the sensory sensitivity, a lot of it, earlier, it's been about 2 years. Jim's mom was finally considered getting help with being bipolar.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of the actions and a lot of the things that you had to learn and what you're describing with your son, like textures, taste, feeding, feeling, seeing, oversensitivity, those are all the characteristics that she goes through.
Speaking of the devil, come here. You want to say hi?
Sure.
Oh, sure.
Right on.
Hey,
what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Connor?
How you doing?
All right. All right. He's going to He has to use our bathroom. That has nothing to do with his disability. It's our bathroom.
It's the cleanest one, Dad. Come on.
Probably is.
You cleaner. You probably have toilet paper. The seats down. Everything.
I'm married to a Filipino. We had to buy the tushy bidet. You changed my life. I'll tell you that.
Dude, I've been wanting to get a bidet for so long, and okay,
It's called tushy.
I want to get that.
Oh, is that how is that thing?
Oh, it's great. I mean, be careful because it's hooked up to your actual main water line.
Yeah.
So it's not like when you go to when I used to work for Google security, and they take care of their employees. So they had the professional bidets to where it's like, it's all automated, and you have gauges that you could how much pressure wash do you want to go on.
Yeah.
And this one, when you first open that thing up, talk about a fire hose going off.
Jesus Christ.
So you don't need to
give yourself an enema.
Yeah, pretty much. Come on. Tell them everything. What are you going to tell them?
What's up, buddy?
You got our attention, buddy. Go ahead.
Well, can I just tell them?
Go ahead. You can say whatever you like.
I actually have goldfish box.
He's got a goldfish box.
I love goldfish.
You have the multicolor, or he just has a regular orange?
Oh, that's another thing. He has just regular orange.
I like it. The taste is so delicious. It makes me go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So, another reason, obviously, why I wanted you on here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now that we've kind of gotten a little personal out of the way, this is, I mean, you told me this, dude, and I still to this day, I get goosebumps thinking about this. So randomly, we were working at our place of job, our employment area.
Yes.
And you came up to me, and I believe either I came up to you or you came up to me, and you said
401. You'll know that you were in.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And you came up and you were like, "Hey, did I ever tell?"
1 second. What was that, dear? You're gonna go. Yeah. Give me the number 4.
Thank you. I'll take the number 5.
There you
go. You came up to me and you said, "Hey, did I ever tell you about my movie idea?" And I said, "I'm sorry, what?"
Yeah.
And
sorry.
No,
go ahead.
You're good. And it really threw me off because I've never heard anybody say that. Like right now, I'm actually wearing someone's hat, Truth Boy. So please go check him out on Instagram and everything else. But when he told me that he was a rapper, I was like, okay, not that what you're saying doesn't make sense, but I'm like, okay, this is something that I've heard in past jobs. Hey, I'm a rapper. I'm a stand-up comedian. I draw. I do this. I've never heard anybody in the years that I've been working say, hey, I have a movie idea. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
So
I usually like starting off with that because I like to talk. So that gives me at least 20, 30 minutes of just talking. So,
and this is the perfect place to do it, buddy. So please, go ahead and just lay it out for us what your idea is. And hopefully anybody listening who's either a producer, a filmmaker, fucking a makeup artist, I don't know, someone who has a foot in the door, please listen to this man because this is insane. And okay. I fucking love it.
So I'll start off. I know that when we were talking earlier in the week, you said you wanted me to discuss. Yes, go with mom. Go with mom. No, I'm not talking. That's part of the movie right there. No, you said you wanted me to discuss like how I came up with the idea.
Yes, and I actually have those photos too. So go ahead and discuss it, and I will pull them up.
So the first, when I was thinking, I have a couple tattoos, and I had back in 2001, I was in a bad car accident, and I got a tattoo because of that. I think I was 18 years old, going 19. I had a lot of anger at that time, and so I kind of came to the realization that I wanted to let a lot of this anger go. So I had a tattoo go on my back where it says, "God will give me vengeance," and that meant that I was going to try to let things go. In the end, he takes care of it. The angel image there is obviously the one I chose for my back, because my friend, he gave me a shirt and that was the image on there. And I said, okay, that's perfect. That's how I want to finish off my back tattoo. Before I made that decision for the angel, I was Google searching cool images of angels. I wanted to see what can inspire me and which one I'm going to go for. Then I saw an image of an angel where I'm not sure if Jim, you want to pull it up. He is standing. No, it's the other one.
Oh, it's the other one. My bad.
Yeah. He's kind of standing at that time, I didn't think in defiance, but as you can see how this angel here is, that kind of was the image I was kind of going for back then. But originally I only saw the angel. I didn't actually see the whole picture. So when you clicked on it, obviously when I read the description of it, it's Lucifer being casted out of heaven. So I made the realization I'm not going to get an angel being Lucifer on my back. I was like, that's probably not a good call. But I grew up Catholic. We weren't active, or practicing Catholics. So I knew who the devil was, or who I was taught was the devil.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I didn't really know why or how he became the devil. And as I was doing some more research and things along those lines, I think the thing that kind of blew me away was that when the devil or Lucifer was casted out of heaven, he was able to convince a third of the angels to follow him. And
That's a big amount.
Yeah. I mean, granted, there's no definitive number of how many angels there were. I mean, there could have been 3 and it was just him. So technically he got a third.
True.
That's the math I know.
But it kind of took me back going like, oh man, like what was it about him that was able to convince a third of these angels to go against God, our creator, and for him to say, yeah, they're like, you know what, I'm going to follow that guy.
Right.
And so how it kind of started was I thought of the trailer first, and I thought, back in the early 2000s and everything, there was always teaser trailers. So I was talking to one of my fellow TSA officers when I worked at the airport, and I jokingly said how I pictured this trailer would be a single feather just slowly, leafing its way down, and right before it hits the ground, it would burst into flames. And the title would come up as it would be First Fallen. And so eventually,
dude, I literally have chill bumps. Like this is, I'm so excited for this story.
Well, same here. Because ever since you educated me that this is now eventually when this comes out, it's technically copywritten.
Yes, sir.
That
it
made
is
me
on
happy.
record. Boom. Try and steal his shit, motherfuckers. I dare you.
So the next trailer that I thought of at the time was you'll be showing Earth. No humans are there, nothing. It's all green, all new life. And as you're sitting there just looking at, I picture deers and whatever animals just walking through this forest, you would start hearing metal clang. But in the distance, all the way down, you don't see anything going on. And as you would pan up to the sky, it'd be overcast, but you would see the sparks of metal hitting each other. And as you're hearing that go on, you would see a single fireball off in the distance go crashing down and hit Earth in big explosion. Or not explosion, but just dust ball. The camera then would pan up, going fast. And as the dust starts to settle, you would see a single angel start to stand up. You would see the feathers on his wings start to fall off, and they would turn into the bat wings. Not 100% skin, but just that it's starting to fall apart. And that would obviously be Lucifer being casted out. And then it would, title First Fallen.
So where did the name First Fallen come from though? Like what is it, because he was the first fallen angel?
That's how I looked at it. I looked up online movies, and titles, and there's movies out there called Fallen. And I said, I can't just call it that. I was, you can't. I didn't want to say cast it out or something like that. But when I,
Tom Hanks will come after your
yeah,
ass. quick.
exactly. But when I thought of First Fallen, I thought that was, it just hit. It's one of everything I have. Whenever I listen to a song and it inspires me for something part of the movie or something like that, it's all feeling. And so when I first thought of First Fallen, I had that sense of like, God, that would be a great title. And it kind of explains everything. If somebody was trying to figure out, it's a movie about angels. It's called First Fallen. We all know about Lucifer and the other angels being casted out and considered fallen angels. And so that's how that one just came to fruition on that one.
Yeah.
So how now we kind of get into the movie. How would the movie start? And basically there's been two beginnings to the movie. And the first one I'll say now is I kind of got away from. Originally I was more focused on when I first thought of the movie, like it was where did this evil kind of come from, and that's how I first was interpreting my idea. And the idea I had was showing modern day soldiers fighting, and somebody, however the dialogue would be and however what would be said, somebody would try to make a reference to where does this evil come from, and then something would happen to where they'd be no longer in the picture, and then you would just keep jumping back in time, keep going back, and it would be World War, you could start with modern day wars to World War II, World War I, as you're going back, and then eventually you would get back to the beginning of time, and you would show Lucifer,
Right.
and that's as you go back, the dominoes fall. Now here's where the evil came from. I got away from that because the new opening I kind of liked better. I would say the movie Constantine kind of helped a little bit with it. But I pictured that you would show modern day, just a major city. It could be any city, it doesn't matter. And throughout the city, you'll be seeing things that are good and things that are bad. And when you see something good, this is kind of like where Constantine came in. You would see like an angel was there assisting the good. And then if you saw something bad, you would see that it's a demon doing something bad. You let your imagine roam on however you want to do it. But the way I pictured it is you would have, I said originally one person, but I could picture one person or at least a couple walking down, and whenever any of these situations are happening, they would somehow be in the picture. So you would see them.
Okay.
And enough of these things start to happen, you would see all of a sudden, here comes Lucifer. He's in the picture and he's following those two people.
But as like quick glimpses like that?
You'd say, yeah, you would see what the situation was. There could be like a car accident, and then you would see like the couple just kind of like walking by looking at the accident. And then you would see somebody doing something good, and then all of a sudden you would see the couple just sitting there. And like, so they're not part of that main scene, but they're there. But then eventually the focus would turn to them because Lucifer has been following them.
Okay.
And so I picture that's when you would see them, and Lucifer's about to make his move. And it kind of helps if the music was playing like the way I picture it and stuff.
Right.
But right when he goes to make his move to either grab the woman or the guy or however you want to picture it, the way I see it is he'd be looking over his hand, and off in the distance you would see Michael watching him.
Michael being the Archangel.
Archangel.
And when Lucifer, then he would stop, and you would see now you focus on Michael, and then he'd be walking towards him. And as you start to pan back, you would see the other archangels are already started closing in on Lucifer. And Lucifer then would smile, have his evil laugh, and then disappear. And that's the beginning part of the modern, movie. So then I picture that you would go back in time now. And so this is where my mind was, thinking about how would you make the movie and what's the premise in the movie. So some of the things I started thinking about was, if God created everything, why would he create archangels? Archangels are the elite. They're the ones that are the soldiers, they're the most revered. So why would God have soldier angels if he didn't have an enemy? He would have to create the enemy. You see, so this is where I started thinking, like, this don't make any sense to me. Why would you do that? So any kind of research I looked up, or anything I looked, obviously was on Google and Wikipedia or whatever you want to say. Obviously, there's no definitive answer on why that happened, because the Bible and everything was written by man. So it is open to interpretation and how you want to portray it.
Mhm.
And so from other movies and things I've written or not written and read, Lucifer was known as the most beautiful. He was the most liked by God. And so I kind of sat back going, okay, how does a guy that's favorited by God now turn into his greatest enemy? And so I started snowballing the idea of, from other movies, Legion was one of them.
That's a great movie, by the way.
Where Michael made a comment saying that when Adam and Eve were created, he was the first to bow to them. And so I started thinking that's probably the turning point there. That's when Adam and Eve are created. They're God's greatest creation. And so Lucifer, being probably the vain person that he would have been, or angel he would have been, that's the turning point. And so then I jump back going, okay, well, how would you show that these angels, how do they become archangels?
Mhm.
And I started thinking that maybe, it's kind of a mixture of like what we kind of go through in our daily basis now. For you to be one of the best, there's usually a competition. So I pictured that God would have been doing something for the angels to compete to one another to become an archangel. And at that time, the archangels weren't going to be considered warrior angels. You were just an elite angel. You were better than the rest. So the main archangels that we kind of, that I know of, I can't pronounce a lot of their names, but Gabriel and Raphael, are, besides Michael, are the big ones. I didn't write it down right now, but I did look up. There are actual archdemons.
Really?
Yes. And so I pictured them as they would be the other angels that fell with Lucifer, and
That would make sense.
but they would be, obviously angels. So I pictured that the competitions could be, you could say whatever. You could say the competitions are of strength, of speed, of intelligence, and things along those lines. Hold on, let me take a sip here.
Gotta wet your whistle.
The whiskey helps.
With everything.
So I pictured that, however, mind you, during this whole competition, I pictured that the Garden of Eden is being built at the same time, or being created at the same time. So the angels are seeing that this garden is being built by God. It's a gift from God that they know of. So they're thinking that when you become an archangel, you get this gift from God, right? God works mysteriously. Nobody knows what he's doing. So it would make sense that the angels would just be assuming that this is their gift. So as the movie, obviously, go ahead if you have a question.
No, I don't mean to cut you off. So apparently there's 7 archangels.
Yes.
Which are the 7 deadly sins. So there's Lucifer, Mammon.
You mean no, the archdemons?
Archdemons. Excuse me, archdemons. Yeah, sorry.
You're changing my whole movie here.
Lucifer.
You're fired, Jim. Get out of here.
My bad. I'm not a good. Yeah. Okay. Lucifer, Mammon, Asmodeus, Leviathan, Beelzebub, Satan. Aren't they the same?
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, like I said, yeah, I haven't really, I've done the research, and so a lot of the things when it comes to these demons, and even the angel names, it's I can't pronounce them, but you might be thinking of these are the other names of Lucifer too. So I mean, Lucifer has Beelzebub, the Morning Star.
Beelzebub is one of them, and then Belphegor.
Oh yeah, I'll take your word for that one.
Yeah, dude. I wish I knew how to pronounce things, because I'm telling you, when I research things, oh, dude, it sucks.
Yeah.
When I research things and I'm trying to get names, if they're from a foreign land, let's say Norway, this is one that I'm looking up now. I'm so glad that these people have stage names.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that they have stage
I
names.
agree with you on that one.
Sorry.
So I picture that however you want to picture the competitions going down, that's always open to interpretation. Michael, when I was at a certain age, I started looking up what our actual names mean, right? So when I looked up Murphy means sea warrior, and I was like, that's freaking awesome. I don't even really like the water, but that's cool that my name means it. Christopher means bearer of Christ, and then Michael is like God.
Whoa.
So when I started thinking about for like a competition for Michael, obviously the competition would come down to Lucifer and Michael. I mean, they're the hero and the villain in this movie. So I picture them at the end. It's gonna, or even during the competition, it's gonna come to them. So I picture their challenge being something, and I haven't nailed it down yet, but something that it would be most like God.
No pun intended, but like
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's part 2 of the movie. No, just kidding. And so when this is all going on, obviously you're going to have fillers in the movie. It's not going to be all about the competition. So I picture scenes with Lucifer of him being most liked, not by just God, but by the angels. Like he's not, it's weird to say, he's not hated. I
He's
picture
loved.
I picture the dynamic when God and Lucifer is a father and son when they clash. I think Jim, you might be able to argue or agree with this, being the father in this scenario, and I could.
Well, that's what his mom says. I've always questioned it, but
I know for instances with my father growing up, I think it's a father-son type thing to where you kind of challenge the authority and you challenge, I know more. I know you don't know what I'm going through, so I'm going to challenge you type mentality. I picture that
brother.
Yeah, I was gonna say my middle brother. Yeah,
That's
that's him.
That's every day.
So I picture that being somewhat the dynamic between God and Lucifer. So Lucifer is going to start out being the most loved and everything cherished about him, but then he's going to start to see that the affection from God is going to slowly go away from him. And so that's going to start to build his resentment towards the other angels. It's going to build his resentment towards the creations that God would make. And so when you get to the point where the competitions are over and the archangels are being named, before you would find out who won between all the group of angels, but who won between Lucifer and Michael, this is where God would present his greatest creation. And this is where it would sting Lucifer the most, because at this point, he's been the greatest creation. And so when God introduces Adam and Eve,
That's his
that
greatest
is
creation.
that is the beginning of the breaking point for Lucifer. So to tie into what happened in Legion, I would show Michael being the first one to bow to Adam and Eve. And when the majority of other angels bow, you're going to see Lucifer stand up in resistance saying, no, how can you call them the greatest creation? They don't, you could say they don't have wings, they don't fly, they weren't created first, and so you would see the resentment, the anger build up, and then you would see a lot of the other angels start to side with him. Wait a minute, he's right, he's making a point. How are you going to favor them? Side note, back to if anybody's thinking about it, what would God look like?
Yeah.
Since God is us, I don't picture God being one person in the movie. I picture God always changing into different ethnicities, different gender, and if you want to say cisgender or however you want the pronouns are nowadays, I picture him always changing because we are in his image. So
that's a good idea. God damn. I want to see this movie, dude. I want to see, like, you have no idea.
Yeah, he wouldn't be, I don't want him to be like how it's been depicted as some old white dude, sitting there with his gray beard. That's Santa Claus.
Right. Yeah. Father Time.
So I would want him to change. I would want it to be different. So this is where Lucifer, he actually wouldn't be casted out right now. Lucifer would convince a third of the angels to leave with him. If you don't agree with God, leave with me. And so they would leave heaven. They would fly down to earth and, sulk in their anger. Now, this is where I picture when God presented Adam and Eve, the reason why Michael would have bowed first is that he would have some sort of vision or sight of what humanity would be.
Mhm.
And Lucifer would have the same thing. Now, this would come into a little bit later in the part of the movie, but it would be Lucifer would have saw the bad in humanity. So when he looked at Adam and Eve, he could see that when we become more than just Adam and Eve, he could see the murder and the greed and everything that's bad about humanity. And so that would fill him up with even more rage. How can you create these kind of beings and say they're your greatest creation, and yet they're doing everything that us angels wouldn't have done? I picture Lucifer when they would fly down, they would try to go into somewhere dark, obviously. And I picture that throughout the whole movie, there would be one angel, okay, that didn't fit quite in. Now, this kind of goes back to what you were saying before, but when we were talking about the autism stuff. Now, I would say that my son kind of inspired this, but obviously not the outcome, but just the idea of somebody who's trying to fit in and doesn't fit in. So when the third of the angels left, this one angel would have saw his opportunity to fit in with a group. Okay. I see that when Lucifer is in the forest and he is sulking, he is angry, he thinks that he knows better, and nobody could, take his place next to God being the best creation. This one angel would come up and he's trying to, now buddy up with Lucifer. Now, this is another question that I presented myself. Why would Lucifer think he can kill God if they didn't know about death? They didn't know about anger and all these things. What would make him think he could actually kill God and take his place? So I pictured that this one angel that didn't fit in, that now is trying to be his buddy, would be at that point where Lucifer snaps and he kills this angel. And then he realizes, if I can kill God's creation, I can kill God. And so it's the blood on his hands that he sees, that he kind of sits back going like, okay, it's not impossible. I picture Lucifer, when he does talk to the third of the angels, I picture him being very charismatic and very much like Hitler. So where Hitler, when he talks, it's full of rage and anger, but he's able to rally up these other angels. So I picture before he talks to them, I picture these other angels thinking like, what the fuck did we just do? We
joining him, like
we
what?
joined Lucifer and we thought it was a right decision. So they're on that precipice of like saying, hey, you know what? Maybe let's ditch this guy and go back and ask for forgiveness. But it's when Lucifer comes out and talks to them, and he's got blood all over him and stuff like that. And they don't know what's going on, but they believe in what he's saying. So
hold on, before we go any further,
go ahead.
I grew up on movies based off of this man right here. This guy, Enter the Dragon, Crow, what was it, Die Hard? I mean, look at right there, Bruce Lee, right there.
That's my superhero.
There you go.
So I mean, all these fucking classic movies were based off of him and what he knows and all of his knowledge. And when you told me this, dude, it fucking blew my mind. And now I want to know what, Dad, you think. I mean, tell me this isn't a great movie idea, like especially with the creation or the mentality that he has.
Well, when he first initially started talking about it, I mean, the only thing it's still stuck in my head when we were talking about Connor, his son, and the sensory sensitivity that he has. And as he's speaking, it was like, it all kind of reflects, because initially when I started listening to the story, I was like, okay, that's kind of like the opening scene of Terminator. It's kind of like the opening scene of Metallica in One, the song Metallica in One.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
That's kind of like the opening scene of you already said Constantine, but there was another movie. It'll come to me. But what's really impressive, that it's the simplicity of what he's saying, and how diverse it can go from there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be endless. Lucifer's endless.
Yeah.
Michael's endless. What you can do and take out of, we believe in paranormal, supernatural stuff. What's the biggest thing people run to?
God.
Yeah.
No, Saint
Oh.
Michael's prayer.
That's true. I have.
Oh, yeah,
I
God.
have a. I,
God,
I
yeah.
have. I have a St. Michael's pendant.
Yeah, so you got that, and then what is the first person who's angry and wants to just destruct and devastate? Who do they summons or call upon? You got the Night Stalker, Richard
Yeah.
Ramirez.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, this, in my mind, I'm like, man, that's a sequel. That could be the third movie. And I'm thinking, oh man, if
That
he
could be
tapped into that, it could be a series. It's
I
not
was
just
just gonna
a
say.
movie; it's a series. And I'm like, man, this dude. Well, I was gonna call you a kid. I apologize.
Okay.
This guy, he's on to definitely. So I've always been a simpleton. So when you can specifically explain something in simplest terms, then there are the other people who can basically indulge in what his description is, and that's what this is.
Oh yeah.
Here's where everybody's going to start taking part of it. Here's where everybody's going to start. We're not the smartest people in the world, but like his son, say he's 18 and he hears this story, and he's going to be like, Dad, what about going this route?
Well, it's funny because when we're in the car and I've played some of the songs for Jim, like when I
Man.
how the battle will go, and how I imagine how the battle will be. He's at that age now where he's like, "Hey, Dad," and I go, "Yeah," and he goes, "What are you talking about? Is that about the devil?"
Yeah.
And I turn me around like, "What?" And he's like, "Is that a real story?" And I go, "No, that's an idea I have. Can you explain that to me?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I can explain that to you."
And that's exactly
I mean,
exactly what I'm saying. It's simple to him and what he's trying to translate, but then you have somebody. I mean, I know people who are in the spectrum that they always say they have this high intelligence of a certain thing.
Yeah.
And him, to give him a direction to obviously reconsider what you're thinking the movie should be, or just the tale should be like. Yeah, that's the challenge.
Oh yeah.
This kid's hitting something different that I've not seen yet.
And same thing when he explained that to me, and then and obviously for copyright purposes, I can't play the music to incorporate. But man, and Dad, I'll send you some of the songs so that when you listen to them, there's specific scenes that go along with it. Fuck, man, that sends goosebumps, chills down my spine.
Yeah.
And then
even a lot of the stuff he was talking about, the opposites, which is like the Buddhists believe in, the yin and yang, or the Tao symbol, and then you have Buddhists believe in reincarnation. It's not stopping with just Michael and Lucifer. It's continuance. It continued from Adam and Eve, but the direction is going in what we were taught. I was not I was baptized Catholic.
Yes.
I was going for my confirmation, but when I was old enough to say, wait a minute, hold on, I did. So when I understood all that, and what the translation was, like you said, was written by man, modern, postmodern, whatever. Okay, well, I don't agree with that translation.
Yeah.
I understand it this way. So, listening to all that, there's an opposite to everything, and all that is, it's competitive, right? Everything's going to have a competitive. Everybody, we as people have the right to be optimistic, pessimistic, ignorant.
100%.
You know what I mean? We will argue to be right and to say something better, but 99% of the time we're just ignorant.
Yes.
Right? And so that what he is saying, it's as simplistic as can be, and it's what everybody's interpretation of is going to be. And however he were put it in a format, yeah, that's deep. That can go deep. This whole thing
real deep, and that's why I'm saying something like that. I know you want to do a movie, but I didn't even think about series.
Actually, it's kind of funny that you guys. So back in the day, I put it up on Facebook asking, "Does anybody have any contacts or anybody that can help me write a screenplay?" And a friend of mine from high school said, well, my aunt is a producer in New York. So I got her contact information. I emailed her my idea, and she said she loved the idea. She did tell me that because I was an unproven writer, it'd be less likely that you would get a movie idea because they're going to go for the big names. She says, well, that doesn't work out. We can make that a show, a TV show or a series.
Here's the thing, though. Hold on. Before you go any further, you don't even got to make it a TV series.
Yeah, nowadays you can do Netflix.
Yeah.
Fuck Netflix. Put it on YouTube.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That is
Or-
that's your control.
Or
You
break
have-
it in. Try to break it into the IG and in the format IGTV has. You know, you can do 15, 20-minute increments,
that
Yeah.
too.
and there's no censorship. So whether it's vulgar, vile, or could be discriminating,
Some
the
breasts.
point is you're trying to bring it across.
The
Look,
body
this
of
is,
Christina.
you know, this is what I'm trying to get at. And, you know, and like I said, it's probably the first of many people that we've ever met like Dave to talk about this. But he's the opportunity with what we have with podcasting and Zooming and social media. Yeah, it's only going to be exposed more and more. So I
Very
think he's definitely he's on the right track. It just
Absolutely.
takes time and notoriety
That's for sure.
and
Well,
money.
Let's get
Oh,
to it.
yeah, money.
The money for sure.
Yeah.
So how I pictured how the battle will kind of begin. And this is after Lucifer would have rallied up the angels to start the war. And so I picture the only person that would actually go down to try to make peace would be Michael. Now, Michael's not the archangel yet. All the other angels, Gabriel, Raphael, and so on, I think the one called Azul or something, they're already archangels. And however you want to say they're able to see this happening, whether they're looking through the clouds or whatever it is, they're able to see Michael go down to try to make peace. I picture Lucifer walking up, and however the dialogue would be, they would be talking about it, and Michael would be saying, this isn't the way. You know, you can't go to war with God. Don't make this mistake. I picture the archdemons, not Lucifer himself, but I picture the archdemons, which at that time they would just be angels. He would make some sort of gesture to grab Michael. And at that point, they're going to start beating the living shit out of Michael.
Yeah.
And I picture...
Oh, God, this is the... Okay, go ahead.
So the way I picture how...
Okay, everyone listening and or watching, really listen to what he's about to say and open your fucking mind to imagination. Sorry, go ahead.
Keep going. Someone's ringing the doorbell. Good, you guys keep talking.
We should actually wait because you've already heard it. Your dad hasn't heard it yet. So let's just talk about,
Yeah, well, so we will stop for just all intensive purposes. But man, when you first told me this, dude, I mean, seriously, it blew my mind. And now what my dad just said, the fact that you can make it a series, if that were the case, especially if it's your own creation with no limitations.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when you go through a movie company, you have to get that rating. Is it G, PG, PG-13, R?
True.
It has to meet that criteria. If not, you can just go to series and be like, fuck it.
Yeah.
So
no,
something
it is true that I haven't really, I think in my 20s when I kind of started thinking about this, and then early 30s, it was my ignorance and stubbornness that I said, no, I want this to be a movie. I think as older I get, the more, the funny part is you and about 3 of my other friends that I'll bring up and I talk about this movie, they always go, what's the status? What's going on? And I go, it's nothing happened yet. They're like, it's bullshit. They get pissed off at me. My friend Lionel, I'm going to send you this link for this and you're going to laugh because I'm bringing you up. He's the one guy that will bring that up to me. And he's a great guy because he'll send me certain songs and be like, hey, I heard this song and I thought of the movie and stuff like that. So he's been since probably almost the beginning stages, the guy that I could talk about the movie.
Right.
Jim's back. Let's get back into it. And then we could say that there's a certain scene where Lionel was, he added a little hint to it. But So I picture that Lucifer has gotten the shit kicked out of him. He's almost to the point where he's unconscious. Michael, yes, sorry. And Lucifer, before he makes his move, he actually goes up. They're holding Michael up, and his wings are draped down. And I picture Lucifer going up and snapping the wings. And the blood from the wings is going on top of Lucifer, which is whatever you could say is giving him more power. I think it's more of a psychological thing for the other angels to see that you just basically beat the shit out of a very powerful angel. Now we could really follow you. Again, if the music was there, it would add to the moment.
Yeah, and I just sent you the text, Dad, of one of the songs that he first explained to me.
Okay.
When well, you haven't said it yet, but there's a change that happens, and when that change happens, listen to this song, and and again, when he keep what he says in mind, and then play that song.
Yeah. Okay. So I picture right before they're about to make their move.
Oh, and for everyone listening, it's Critical Acclaim by Avenge Sevenfold.
Yeah.
Listening, watching, listening.
Well, there's actually, that's the hard part, because there's a lot more other songs but that was the first song to where I thought of the transformation. And if you listen to the song,
when you feel that riff come on and the transformation happens, dude, you told me that I almost came.
I have twice so far, so I'm good. So when it's going along with that song, it starts off very evil-like, and so you picture that's the moment where Lucifer and the other angels are beating the crap out of Michael. When you hear the song, it's going to have some loud riffs come to it with the guitar, and I kind of picture that's the beginning stages of Michael now being transformed into the Archangel, because what he did was most like God. And you would say maybe it was probably the New Testament, more about forgiveness, not necessarily Old Testament, where it was more wrath and anger from God. But he was acting most like God. Like, he's not trying to destroy, he's trying to create. And creating that bridge for the other angels to come back to heaven was the moment where he said, okay, now you're the Archangel. So I picture that he would slowly be standing up and he'd be starting to heal. And that so if you've seen the movie Legion, you saw when Gabriel arrived, he actually had metal-like wings. So I picture that Michael would be changing into the Archangel and his wings would be changing. And Lionel, this is where you added your 2 cents. His wings wouldn't look metal, so it wouldn't be silver, they'd be gold. And so his wings would be slowly changing. And I did picture one of my first times when I was thinking about the movie that a single feather during this altercation would have fallen off. And when Michael picks up the feather, that's the feather that turns into the spear that he would use to cast out Lucifer. When you hear the song, you're going to hear the loud riffs of from the guitar. And at that time, the original idea for the battle scene or beginning part, when you hear the riffs, that would be the other archangels crashing down next to Michael. And so it's
sorry, go ahead. My dog, go ahead.
It's okay. And so they would be crashing down next to Michael, standing with him to start the war. When you hear Avenge Sevenfold, after you hear the riffs, you're going to hear a loud screaming. I wouldn't want that in the movie, but I'm using that concept of when Michael and Lucifer would be talking, everything would be overcast. It'd be dark. It'd be stormy. It would not look nice. So the way I picture it, and however you want to picture it, was when this whole transformation is starting to happen, the other archangels are crashing down. Up in heaven, the rest of the angels are realizing that they need to fight for Michael and for God. And so you would have them on top of the clouds running to where Michael's at. So everywhere where it's overcast and dark, you would see coming from the outside in basically be the footsteps of the angels running on top of the clouds, and light would be shining through. And so I picture that when the fight is about to begin, a center above all Michael and Lucifer and all them would open up, And when you hear the screaming, it would be the actual angels jumping down in that hole to come start the fight against Lucifer. And so that's how the fight and the battle would begin. Now, where this has evolved from, same concept with the angels and the archangels coming in to help Michael, but before he actually, the way before I pictured it was Michael would slowly be standing up and he'd be transforming. I've actually changed it to where his transformation will be slower. So where the other Lucifer would walk away from the begin where before the angels come crashing in, he would walk away and he'd be basically given a gesture to the other angels to finish him off. And I picture at this moment when God gives him the ability to become the archangel, it wouldn't be a quick transformation. You know, Michael would all of a sudden he would have the energy to kind of stand up, but he'd be still broken. So when the other angels come in to kind of finish him off, he's fighting them off. And so this is the other song where I kind of pictured it was by a group called Master Plan, and the song's called Fallen Sparrow. And so it's not necessarily the lyrics, but it is like right in the middle of the song when you hear kind of a guitar riff and it's just instrumental stuff. And so the way I picture there's a certain part in the song to where when Michael he's fighting off all the angels, I picture there's a scene where he would actually roll on top of the angels using his wings to kind of curl over on top of them, and he would land back on his feet. While he's making that gesture, I picture Lucifer is turning over his shoulder and he's looking, and you could say whatever it is, his power or something, but he would actually have the ability to see closer. And when he's looking at Michael rolling on top of that one angel, he sees a single feather start to change gold. And that's him starting to change into the archangel.
Ooh.
And so that's when Lucifer turns more like, oh
what
shit,
the fuck?
What's going on here?
Yeah.
And I picture at the same time Michael looking over his shoulder, looking at Michael or Lucifer, kind of smiling, going, shit's about to go down.
It's on, motherfucker.
You're not touching me again. And there's another song I sent you. It's by the Electric Light Orchestra, ELO, and it's called Fire on High.
Yeah.
That song I pictured perfectly because I've even played it for my wife, who's been phenomenal when it comes to like, hey, I have an idea for the movie. If you listen to that song, the scenario that I kind of painted now kind of goes really well with it. But I picture in this moment, Michael's now slowly transforming into the archangel. Lucifer is kind of making his moment to go back and re-attack Michael. But at this point, that same scene where I told you before, picture the angels running in. I picture the archangels now leading the other angels to come fight and help out Michael. During the battle, I picture Lucifer. He's just as powerful. So I picture him really fucking up some angels that are not as strong. The scene where he breaks the wings of Michael.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to Electric Light Orchestra, the Fire on High, there's a scene in there in the song that I picture where Michael would have seen Lucifer making that, where he's about to snap some other angel's wings. And I picture him now fully transformed into the archangel. You could say the voice of God, something loud and, where it stops everybody kind of in their tracks. But when Lucifer,
what would be good? Sorry. Not even the voice of God, but I'm excited for this. You have no idea. But let's say he grabs, and as it starts to snap, you hear the crack, and then it just goes mute.
Well, that's what I was going with. Like, I picture Lucifer grabbing he would have like any other general would have. He would have other soldiers around to kind of help protect him. So when Lucifer beats up the one angel, these other angels kind of help pick up this angel, whoever it would be. And when Lucifer goes to snap the wings, you would have Michael scream Lucifer. Now you could either have him say Lucifer, or you could have him say any other name that Lucifer has, Beelzebub, Morning Star, something along those lines, to where it gets his attention. And when he
I think like a obscure name that people that only he would really recognize.
Yeah. And so the way I picture it at that point is that when he goes to make that, if you hear the song, mind you, Michael would then travel at a speed that no other angel besides Lucifer could see him. And I picture him that he would be circling around, creating like a open field to where him and Lucifer would then stand across from one another. And at that point, Lucifer realizes that I'm probably not going to win this fight. And since Lucifer is a personification of evil, and you would say more like cowardness, he would try to take that moment to go take off and go after God. Because then he would realize if all the angels are down here fighting,
God's
who's
by
protecting
himself.
God? And so I picture the battle would go from being on the ground in that area there up into the sky. And it's only between Michael and Lucifer. So they're up in the sky fighting out and doing everything they're doing. And eventually you could say they kind of get to the gates of heaven. They get to a point where God is able to see him. And whatever the interaction would be between the three of them, the two of them, I picture that's the moment where Lucifer would be casted out.
This sounds like an episode of Dragon Ball Z on methamphetamine.
Fusion!
Exactly.
And so I picture at that moment, a lot of the angels, as the fight's going up, they've all kind of stopped fighting one another. Okay, so they kind of went flying up to kind of see how this is all going to turn out. But at that moment, Michael's powerful. He's the archangel, and he would cast out Lucifer, and Lucifer then would be crashing down to earth and going into hell. And at that moment, when all the other angels look and they're afraid, God would have then just casted them all out. You turned your back on me. You turned your back on the faith. And so they would all go crashing down. Now, how it would start from there is they would all be in hell. They'd be all upset and sad. I picture one angel or now demon would turn to Lucifer and say something, it could be a cheesy or corny line, but like, what now? And then you would
That's exactly what it is. What now?
Yeah.
So then Lucifer then would turn and just be, this is only the beginning. He would say something along the lines of, now we're free from God's rule and we can do whatever we want. And so,
and then fade to black.
No.
No?
Black. Oh no.
Oh, dude, that's like the first episode, man. That fucking
well,
people on the edge.
If we're going for the episode, then we're doing that. But the way I pictured it was, now if you go back into the beginning of the movie, okay, the two people that Lucifer were following, okay,
Adam and Eve. Oh, no, with the hand.
Yes, the two people he was following, you hit the nail on the head. They would be resembling Adam and Eve.
Oh,
okay, that's the reason why he was following them. He was going after people who resembled the greatest creation. Okay, so now the reason I'm saying that is because how I would fade to black, or how I would end it, you would show the Garden of Eden it's fully created, and you would see Adam and Eve from the outside in the wasteland walking in to the Garden of Eden. And as you pan out, because we don't get to go see what's in the Garden of Eden, as you pan out, you go on top of a hill, a mountaintop, or whatever, and you see a guy standing there and he's got a cloak on. And as you pan from the back of him and you pan around to his face, it's Lucifer. And now he's looking more like the devil we would kind of picture. I'm not saying red, and I'm not saying with horns, but I picture his eyes being very dark, and I picture his eyes looking very like reptile-like. Mm-hmm. And his wings would definitely be just the bat wings, skin-like, no feathers, nothing holy about him whatsoever. And when he's looking off in the distance, I picture him looking right at the camera and smiling. And then you would see him just fly right down. And as he flies down, you see the cloak fall off, and you see him change into a snake, and he slithers in. And that's how you end it.
But that's technically just the beginning.
Yes,
exactly.
That's technically just, and then my biggest, I mean, I understand what your process of doing is. But my only question is, if being combative or being defensive how would the archangels not confuse that with being evil to fight against evil? We're doing the same thing. You know, that would be the only question. How would you translate? How would God translate to the good soldiers we need to protect?
Well, I don't picture these guys being like the best fighters right off the bat, since this would be like the first time they're doing it. So I picture more of the fight being more of the 2/3 of the angels are more going to like these other angels and like kind of like holding them, you know, like not like hugging them, but like trying to restrain them. Like, don't, you know, this, they're pleading to them, don't do this.
Yeah.
Well, the other angels who have now joined Lucifer know that the way they want to get what they want, they have to take and they have to hurt and do those type of things. And so how I would try to portray that is like, you know, do it throughout the movie. You're not, you would focus on the main characters, but you would see pockets of angels that are friends. And now these pockets have been split into 2 groups. And so you would have some of these angels kind of going to the one friend going like, what are you doing? And the other one like headbutting one in the nose and breaking his nose. You know? So, you know, I think that's the one way you would have to portray it. Also,
actually, that headbutt, now that I'm thinking of it, that could be like the comic relief in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Where like an angel comes down and grabs him and the demon goes, wham! And he's like, oh, what the fuck was that?
What the hell is going on here? Yeah, no, that would be, I mean, especially with Marvel, they're able to work in the humor and stuff along those lines. So that would be, you know, I mean, my wife will laugh at this one. I always joke with her. And I always say I got most humorous in 8th grade. So I would have to work in some sort of humor. But yeah, no, that is the idea. That is the
and that is copywritten now. You are on record of what you want to do as far as a film or a series, man.
I know that would be, I mean, if either one happened, I would be happy. I know a lot of people that I've told the story to, they want to see it. You know, I tell them I'm lucky because I could just imagine it and it's always there.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that people want to now picture it. And my wife's always told me that I have the ability to listen to music, certain songs, and just really put them into a scene. She says this is totally separate from the movie, but the song "Mary, Did You Know" by the Pentatonics. If you guys don't know that song, it's a Christmas song. It's a great acapella group. I've actually turned that song into a battle scene for the second coming of Christ. And it sounds funny.
No, I'm just interested to see how you're translating it.
When you hear it, it's one of those things to where like the first time I told my wife about it, I was like, oh crap, she's Filipino. She's way more religious than I ever was. And so I might be going straight to hell when I tell her this. But even when I told her that, she was like, I can't ever listen to that song and not think of that scene that I've created. Which, I mean, I could even tell you that now too, but the hard part is that for that, you really need to hear the song and hear the emotion and stuff behind it.
What about a book? Because that's
why I'm on here. I mean, I need somebody else to write it. I could talk about it all damn day. Okay, this is the funny part. In high school, I went to Hillsdale High in San Mateo. We had a senior project. It was called a senior exhibition. It was a year-long project. Okay. We had to take a topic, come up with our own hypothesis, do our own research, basically preparing you for college. Our paper had to be, if I remember, like 15 to 20 pages long.
Whoa. And
not only do you have to do that, but you have to do an oral presentation to graduate. Okay. So you have to pass this. That's how big it is a part of your grade. So needless to say, I had a C- on my paper. My presentation, I had 99 out of 100.
Wow.
And so my teacher that I had that graded my papers and did all these things, he was sitting in on my presentation. He was one of the funniest teachers I ever had. So he literally said, I remember when I was getting my review, he said, I have to be honest with you. he said, all year I've had to read shitty paper after shitty paper after shitty paper. He goes, I only gave you a passing grade because I kind of liked you. I said, thank you. He says, but seeing your presentation, he says, it took all those papers and washed it away because I learned more from you presenting it and seeing your emotion behind it that made me appreciate your topic. My topic was actually, is humor the best medicine for the body and soul?
Fuck
So-
yeah, it is.
So basically, I found out during my research and stuff what humor does, laughing, and what stress does to your body. And so, yeah, granted, I did my research, I did all this stuff, but writing it down on paper, it's like I write as if I talk, and that's not how you're supposed to write.
Right.
So that's why, yeah, it doesn't translate well. I mean, I remember when I was talking to you about it, you would send me a text message, like the beginning parts of a screenplay, and I'm like, okay, I fucking found my writer. Jesus. Way of putting things like the way I phrase it on black and white and making it like that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Listen, man,
That's a lot of work.
it's
but
a
I
lot
think
of
it's
work, but this
achievable. I
can
think
be
it's
something.
achievable.
This is something that can be fucking huge, man. Seriously.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I that's the one thing that lately I've gotten away from social media. I mean, I'm on Instagram, but I got away from Facebook because there was a lot of negativity and stuff, and that's separate. But Instagram is good because when you go into the search, you'll have, videos that pop up that somebody famous may be saying, and so there's one that I just recently saw of Stan Lee, and I don't quote me, but it's something along the lines of, don't let people tell you that your idea is bad if you believe in your heart and soul that it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's one of those things to where this is over a decade I've been thinking about this movie. Or a series, and it's something I've thought about. And there are moments to where, yes, it'll go on the back burner, and there's moments to where I sit there and I don't talk about it. There's, usually what will bring me back into it is a song and something that will motivate me at that point. But it's something that's stuck with me for over a decade, and it's one of those things to where if it was meaningless and it didn't resonate with certain people, I would have forgotten it a long time ago. And the fact that I do have a handful of people that I know I talk to about it and they remember it, it means something. And
Sure.
So that's the reason why it's like, I've had people try to make suggestions to find, I think it's called a ghostwriter, or somebody that you could, tell
Yeah.
your idea and they could write it down for you and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this. My son is autistic and he does take up a lot of my time. But yeah, I
Well,
appreciate you guys listening and stuff, and I appreciate.
Of course, man. I'm telling you, like when this idea of a podcast happened, it was just out of the, I've always liked podcasts. Again, movie guy here also turned me on to Rogan and Bert Kreischer and all these other
Yeah.
podcasting guys. And I was sitting around one day and I was telling my wife, and I was like, I think I want to do a podcast. She's like, the fuck are you going to talk about? I was like, I like talking shit. I don't know.
Support, hun.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I don't know, but I know one of the things that I really enjoy is stories, crime, clearly paranormal with our family.
Yeah.
All that stuff. And then, so that's why the name Bo Talks, because first off, my nickname is Bo. It was given to me by him and my mom. So, and people know, just like you, I can talk up a goddamn storm until I'm blue in the face.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, fuck it. And then she also, my wife, the one who even said, well, what are you going to talk about, made the suggestion of Bo Talks with Big Jim. Because when him and I are around, it's just bullshit left and right.
There you go.
So
this is table talk for us.
Exactly. So when you were telling me this, I was like, dude, there's no way I cannot not talk to you.
Well, at first when you came up to me and you told me you were in the podcast, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to talk about? And then you said, well, I want you to talk about your movie idea. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool because, you know, I talked to people, you know, here and there about it. I'm careful on who I say it to because, you know, everybody's afraid that they may steal the idea. And I've sarcastically said, if somebody took my idea and they took everything I said and they made it, I don't know how mad I would be. I would look at it as like you had the better resources to make my dream come true. Yes, the financial gain would suck because they got paid for it.
Right.
But just the fact that my idea, something that I thought of, is gone up on a TV screen or a movie screen, I'd just be proud of that. But now that it's copyrighted, fuck all of you people. It's my bad.
Say, it'll sting a little bit. It'll sting a little bit.
I mean, the end of the world's coming, right? So you might as well, you know.
Well,
But
man, this is, I mean, I'm still speechless over the whole thing. I really want this to happen.
yeah,
I really want. I'm gonna try and hashtag and tag all the different shit that I can to put onto Instagram and everything else.
Yeah.
Because this is something that can be huge, and if I can put a 0.5% of help into what your dream is, or we can put that in there. Excuse me. Fuck, dude. I'd be to the moon and back.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You guys will definitely get a shout out if I get an Academy Award for it.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Just buy me a pizza.
There you go. Got you on that one.
Buy me some insulin.
And there you go.
Well, Chris, man, thank you
Thank
you
you very
so much
much.
for
Yeah.
coming on and telling your story about your son and your series movie idea. Just fuck, dude. I genuinely want this to happen.
I
Like,
mean, so do I. I know we'll have to reach out to Siwa. He's been waiting to hear about this movie idea this whole time. So
Siwa is the person that we used to or still work with at our job of employment.
yes.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate this forum for being for me to get my idea out there. And I mean, I hope something comes of it. If not, it's been a true pleasure talking to you, Jim. It's really, truly, you have a great son there. You know,
Thank you.
definitely questioned his sexuality, but then he told me he was married with a child. So then I was like, okay, we're good there.
That's
You
right.
never checked his browser history.
Sure didn't. No. You're gonna stay off of that one.
Yeah, but, I wish you guys nothing but success in this podcast. I mean, it's a great forum you have here, and you guys you're hitting some good topics, and you know, nothing but the best for you guys.
Thank you. You
Thank
too
you,
as
man.
well. You
Likewise,
definitely
yeah.
have something huge. He hasn't been this excited for a guest since we had Saf from Tiger King on there.
Well, no, Saf and Semi Stupid. David.
Yeah.
Those two. Oh fuck, dude. Like, anyways, yeah. So like, this is something that I've been wanting to get done and not get done, but just like have you on
For a while.
and have
For
it
a while.
recorded so it's fucking on record that this is
Yeah, that's
your
true.
idea. This is Christopher Murphy's idea. Fuck
Yeah,
everyone else
that's
that tries to take it. Well, thank
good
you,
luck
buddy.
with your son. I hope everything that you are working hard toward, you get accomplished with him, and my prayers out to him. My
Thank you.
best
Thank you. I
wishes to
appreciate
you and your wife.
Likewise. Absolutely.
And you guys have a good holiday.
You as well. You guys stay safe.
You too, man.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Talk to
All
you
right.
later, bud. Bye.